Hey everybody, this is Ted Williams here with TedWilliams3rd.com. I am excited to be here today to talk to you guys about what the heck is going on in the world. What the heck is going on in the world, man? I mean, we got all kind of stuff. I want to talk about this Breonna Taylor case, but I'm not going to do that right this moment because I was actually prepared to talk about this Florida case, and then that happened. So I'm going to do a whole other video later on that, but I tell you, this is a real serious time that we're in this country. And I really hope that you guys are paying attention and that you are really working to make sure that you are involved and that you are energized. This is election season. If you cannot get excited about politics during a presidential election year, I don't know what's wrong with y'all. You guys, we gotta get engaged. We gotta know what's going on. We have to be involved in this process. The concept of democracy comes from the Greeks. And in the Greek language, the word democracy, demos and kratos, means demos people, kratos rule. In a democracy, it is the people that rule. And yet in our country, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think that we are obviously any longer a democracy. We might be an aristocracy at this point, and a situation which the elite rule. And so what we got to be thinking about is how do we engage? And the truth is, guys, I understand like a lot of people are angry. A lot of people are angry about a lot of things, and they should be. And yet, if we don't keep pressing and keep pushing, we won't see the victories when they happen. The Bible says that people who are not kind of connected with God, doing the right thing, whatever, the wicked, if you will, it says that they don't see prosperity when it comes. Guys, there are a couple areas where we gotta celebrate what's happening. There's a lot of stuff we can't celebrate, and that's really negative right now. But we've got to find the victories, and here's a victory that I'm really excited about. Michael Bloomberg, former presidential candidate, former three-time mayor of New York City, just helped to raise $20 million to allow for over 700,000 felons who were in the state of Florida to vote in this presidential election. 700,000 people are affected by this. Let me explain to you what happened. So in 2018, the state of Florida essentially created a constitutional amendment that allowed for felons to have the right to vote. Well, as you know, there is one side of this political aisle that is constantly pushing for people not to vote. And so by literally just last week, September 11th, or just over a week and a half ago, September 11th, the state of Florida essentially said that they could vote only if they fulfilled their, paid their restitution, paid their fines, etc. And so what happened was all these people who had gotten the newfound right to vote were denied that right to vote because they didn't have any money in their pockets. So what Bloomberg did, and John Legend, a bunch of other people, they put some of their own money in, but then they raised money so that these folks, they're going to pay all of their fines. This is amazing if you think about it. Now, you could say, hey, man, maybe Bloomberg is only doing this because they want to use them to vote for Joe Biden. Okay, so what I'm saying is that when you see an egregious violation of civil rights, the fact that someone's willing to use their money to do something about it is a good thing. Maybe he is using them. Maybe he's manipulating them. Maybe he should have done this outside of an election year, but so what? He's doing it. We have to celebrate what's happening now. Let me give you a little more detail about this. Florida is a very important state. There are 29 electoral votes in Florida. As you guys know, Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, these places essentially run the presidential process, right? Because if you don't win these states, you're basically messed up. And these are swing states, all of them. In the year 2000, the George Bush Al Gore election, the state of Florida was won by less than 600 votes. Less than 600 votes separated the winner of the presidency from the loser of the presidency because it came down to one state in Florida. Less than 600 votes. We're talking about 700,000 people. 700,000 people. 700,000 people. Who on earth would want to deny people who have paid their debt to society the right to vote? And why wouldn't you go back and then make a situation in which, yes, you can have the right to vote, but only if you can pay off all those fines? Guys, what this is akin to what happened years ago in the South with the poll tax. And I am personally very tired of seeing people work in a manipulative way to keep certain people off of the polls, or off of the rolls, so they could not engage and go to the polls, right? Guys, this is not democracy. Anybody who tells you that they want to lessen the amount of people that can vote, there's something wrong with them. They are not working for freedom. They are not working for democracy. They are not working for what's right. They are working for oppression. They are working for aristocracy. They are working for an oligarchy. They are working so that the masses of people would not be able to participate in our democracy. Think about this. I said this in my video a couple of days ago. The Republican Party right now will, if President Trump gets to put in this sixth Supreme Court justice, will have 6 of the 9 Supreme Court justices only having won the popular vote once in the last 28 years. Now, let me say this. I am not actually, guys, by the way, this is not an effort to be horribly partisan on this thing. I'm not even talking about people. I mean, there are people, there are players in this. But why on earth? Why? Just tell me why. Give me a good answer. Why would you not want someone to vote? Why? Why would you want to deny access for someone to vote? It doesn't make any sense. You would think that in this country that we would be encouraging more people to vote. You would think that in this country that we would want more access to the ballot box. But we wipe away people's right to vote for a variety of reasons. And ladies and gentlemen, it's political manipulation. Now, I'm not saying that it doesn't work on both sides. So I think, truthfully, Bloomberg, once again, he's not doing this because he's a saint, right? He's doing this because he wants to empower Joe Biden in Florida. But the principle is still the same. Access to the polls, access to voting, I think is such a critical issue. You know, it's also interesting because the governor of Florida, the day before, this was announced just yesterday, actually. Just yesterday or the day before yesterday, has put forth a package of legislation that says that it will now be a felony if you are caught obstructing traffic for a protest, if you are caught participating in a violent or disorderly protest. If you are caught toppling a statue, you will get a felony in Florida, a felony. You might be a college student that goes down to Florida and says, hey, I'm going to get involved in this protest. And if it's deemed disorderly, you could get a felony. Guys, this is happening in 2020. This is not happening in 1965. This is happening in 2020, and it's not right. Here, let me tell you something. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, if you are an American, you respect the right to protest. You respect the right to peaceably assemble. You respect the right to lay forth your grievances and put them to the government. It's in the First Amendment. The right to send the government a list of our grievances and for them to redress those grievances. If you think about this, this is American as apple pie. Anybody doesn't want people to vote. Anybody doesn't want people to protest. They are not working in the best interest of this country, and how dare anyone say that those people are true Americans, because that's not what America's about. Whether you agree or you disagree, it doesn't matter. Once again, hear me clearly, folks. This ain't about who's right. It's about what's right. So we ought to pay attention to these things. This is a very, very important issue. I think that people who are freedom-loving people, democracy-loving people, justice and equality-loving people would want people simply to be able to vote, would want people simply to be able to protest. I've always been engaged in politics. I know that now it is almost impossible to not be engaged in politics because politics is everywhere. You can't go to the state of Florida and go to Disneyland, or Disney World, excuse me, Disneyland's in California, and not think about what's happening politically. And so I really hope that you guys are engaging. Take this moment to engage. Take this moment to do what's right. Take this moment to fight for someone who is less fortunate than you. You can fight for them in a variety of ways. And one way you can fight for them is through voting. You know, it's interesting because, and I'm going to close out here in just a second, but, you know, I never will forget this. I think, you know, it's funny. It's the head and the heart. It's empathy and critical thinking. That is what's lacking in our society the most. My friend Dwayne said this months ago, and it just stuck with me. Empathy and critical thinking, a head and a heart. Do you have a heart for other people? And are you willing to think about what ultimately will help them and then work for that? And that's what we're here to do. Those are my thoughts, guys. I'd love to hear yours. I see some of the comments right now. I'm with you. I see. Let me just go ahead and respond to these contracts. Respond to comment. Let me go ahead. Dolores says she's just not into it right now. Dolores, we got to vote, dear. We have to vote. I know you're not into it right now. I know there's frustration, but the truth is that Winston Churchill called democracy the worst form of government, except for all the other ones that have been tried. It's all we have. We got to continue to vote. Brother, let's see, Brother Ricardo and Kamisa says that we gotta vote. Access to voting is critical. Yes, Ricardo, you are right. Protests, yes. Looting and rioting, no. You're absolutely right. I don't support looting. I don't support rioting. I do support protest. And the idea that in the law you could have this nuanced, disorderly conduct, legal precedent would allow for people to abuse people's right to protest. It's very clear and very simple. So, yeah, I'm not for statues and these Confederate statues in any way, shape, or form. I'm not out tearing them down. I think we should tear them down legally. But there are people that are doing it. And, yeah, there should be some legal repercussions. But a felony for being involved in potentially obstructing traffic in a protest? A felony? Okay. This is why, guys, by the way, America has the largest prison population in the entire world. We have more people in jail. We have 2 times as many people in jail as the Chinese do, and the Chinese have 1 billion people in the country. 1 billion people. And you go to jail in China for having a church service in your house. 1 billion people in jail in China, and we have twice as many people in jail as they do. And so what I'm saying is, guys, is that these are egregious violations of freedom. People say all the time, if I were living back in the 1960s, I'd have been involved with Dr. King. Come on, man. If you're not involved right now, you wouldn't have been involved back then. If you're not involved right now and you're not thinking about these issues and fighting for these issues and pushing these issues, you wouldn't have been involved in 1960. You wouldn't have been involved in 1860 when they were talking about people like me should be slaves. So this is a great time. These issues have not gone anywhere. And I'm going to tell you this, guys. We got to be on the right side of history. We got to be fighting for the things that are right. If you're going to fight for anything, fight for the marginalized. I say this all the time. I am a person of faith. My faith commands me to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. Otherwise, what's the point of having power? I understand my brother Justin says he's tired of politics. Brother, I get you. I understand. I'm tired of it too, but it's all we got. It's all we have, Justin. It's all we have, everybody. So you fight, right? You don't vote for just anyone. You vote for who you're going to vote for based on a set of principles or whatever, and then you hold them accountable. But you vote not just for the sake of voting. We spend a lot of time trying to get people engaged in voter registration, but we got to do some voter education. And what I'm going to be doing over the next couple of months, or the next month or two, is I'm doing voter education all over the place, because a lot of people go into the polls and they go, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Oh, this person sounds like they're a woman. This person sounds like they're, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I saw a commercial. Oh, they sound like they're live on the other side of town, so I'm not going to vote for them. This is nuts. This is supposed to be the greatest democracy in the world. Do you know how many people vote like that? That's crazy if you think about it. So we got to spend a lot of time on voter education. I hope that when you go to vote, that you're not just voting, you're not just patting yourself on the back because you voted. Use websites like ontheissues.org, votesmart.org, ballotready.org. These are all places where you can go get a sample ballot. You can fill that sample ballot out. You can do your research ahead of time. And you can take that ballot into the polls with you, brothers and sisters. And then you can actually have voting in a sensible way so that your vote matters. So anyway, Ricardo, you're coming for me hard today, man. Oh, you threw the abortion piece up in there. You want what's going on, man? You know you're my buddy, man. I love you, man. I really do. And I loved working with you on our TV show. We are on polar opposite ends of the spectrum on this stuff, but come on, we can talk about it. He says, somebody challenged me and says, hey, you're a person of faith. How can you support and stand by folks who kill babies at birth? Okay, here we go. I'm a person of faith. I am voting for Joe Biden. Okay. Oh yes, I got you, bro. I understand that. Let me break this down for you guys real quickly. The book that I read suggests, if you read through scripture, and I have spent a lot of time, brother, a lot of time thinking about the implications of faith on politics. I've written 2 books about this because I think about it all the time. I'm actually now doing some schoolwork around this as well, and writing again around this because it's such an important issue. What does my faith compel me to do in the political process? For a long time, I thought that my faith compelled me to fight for the rights of the unborn and fight for marriage and fight for small businesses and fight for freedom and all these other things that are typical sort of faith-based, right-leaning positions. But what you must understand that has happened in this country that has really brought the sort of ripped the veil, right, and made this so clear is that many of the same people who are fighting for the right to life for a child in the womb don't care what happens to that child when it gets to this earth. I am not a person that supports abortion. And yet, because as a personal choice, I don't support it. And yet what I recognize is that if you want me to choose between an issue, right, that is nuanced and complicated at certain levels for certain people in certain situations, right? There's a difference between the abortion issue at 1 month than it is at 8 months. There's a huge difference, but I'm not even here to talk about that. I don't really support abortion. But what I will say is, the flip side is the same people who are arguing for this don't want immigrants in this country, don't want to acknowledge that there's racism in this country, side with the wealthy all the time, are trying to negate people's right to vote all the time, have hate-filled Pharisee-like hearts in which they are pushing issues that I think that are incompatible and inconsistent and antithetical to the teachings of the Savior of the Christian faith, which is Christ. That the marginalized are a critical part of this ministry. Anyone who doesn't stand by the marginalized, I have a hard time believing that they are really living out the tenets of this particular faith. So I'm not going to go into this heavily. I could do a lot about this, but I want to make it clear that in a two-party system, we have two imperfect choices. I don't think, by the way, the Democrats are all right in everything. And I don't think the Republicans are all right in everything. And I think all of us have got to figure out either to not participate, choose a third party, or pick the lesser of two evils, or pick the best situation, maybe not the lesser of two evils, but pick the best situation in an imperfect situation. And that is what we all do. And me, like everyone else, has a decision to make based on a whole slew of issues. And so, when I look at the principles that are important to me, the principles that are important to me as a man, as a person of color, as a person of faith, as a teacher, as an American citizen, as a business owner, as a father, as a husband, as an artist, you name it, I go, well, how does it stack up? And in this current iteration, I didn't want to get too political, but I have to tell you, I mean, I didn't want to get too political. I am political. I didn't want to get too partisan. But I have to tell you, when you are on the side of people who want to make sure that people don't get to vote after they paid their debt to society, it's hard for me to support that. When you're on the side of people that, all things being equal, are going to consistently vote on the side of the privileged versus the marginalized, it's hard for me to get down with that. When you're on the side of people who consistently want to gin up racial division in this country and whip it up and use it as a political tool and weaponize this idea of civil rights and take us backwards in that way and tell people who are in the NFL they don't have a right to protest, that, ladies and gentlemen, I can't be on that side of history. So you pick what you want. You do what you want. But I think we all will be judged for how we operate on this life. I think we'll all be judged for our hearts and the things that we engage in and support. And we'll have differences of opinion on that, and that's fine. But I can tell you guys that that these are such important issues. And whatever you guys decide, by the way, is for you. But you got to get engaged. And I think you got to get engaged in a way that helps to expand freedom and equality for all people. And unfortunately, we are in a situation, in a system where we don't have great choices completely. But not voting and not participating is voting and participating. And I think every one of us has a responsibility to utilize the rights and privileges that we've had and to do something to make the society better for other people. And that's all I'm going to say for today. Have a great day, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And let's continue to fight for what is right in the world. As Margaret Mead said, never doubt that a small, thoughtful group of committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, is the only thing that ever has. Take care.